mystery man at the dump.
Okay, we'll try to get to that. Oh, good evening. Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson with co-host Gene Hislop. And our special guest this evening, Rudy Marconi.
Hello, David.
This is going to be shown after the primaries, so we're not going to hypothesize on what's going to happen in the primaries on Tuesday, because when it shows, we'll all know what happened on the primaries on Tuesday. But Rudy was a candidate for governor.
Well, we do know one thing.
What's that?
That Rudy Marconi's name will not be on the ballot.
Okay, there you go.
That we know for sure.
Okay, prediction. You can take that one to the bank. Rudy was a candidate for governor on the Democratic Party ticket in Connecticut, and he's now, of course, back to his normal routine as first selectman in Ridgefield.
That's correct.
For how many years now?
One more year. A year from this November. We now have 4-year terms.
4-year term limit. So
right.
you will have served your 4 terms.
I'm in starting in November, it'll be my 12th year.
Okay. So okay. Oh, so that'll be, so if you run again, that would
be the beginning of another 4-year term.
4th term.
If I win.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not going to be presumptuous. You never know.
Certainly. Now Ridgefield is one of not too many towns in Connecticut that have a 4-year term for their first selectman or mayor. Most of Connecticut has a 2-year term.
That's correct.
Ridgefield and a few other towns have a 4-year term.
There are a few other, correct.
Yeah, not too many. Let's look backwards first at your candidacy for governor. You had a great time. I saw you all over the place. You got to be seen all over the state of Connecticut. Opportunity to talk on
a multitude of topics.
A multitude of topics, a multitude of venues on television, radio.
Yes. Very well known and very respected.
Yeah, thank you. Look back on it and tell us about it. What was it like? What's it like running for governor?
It was exhausting. I will tell you that. And anyone, Mark here in Danbury, or Ned, Tom Foley, the entire cast of candidates, it's incredible the amount of time and how focused you do stay on it. Mary Glassman, I mean, you get up, and especially when I was doing it, I would go to work at 7:30, 7:45 in the morning, work all day long, 4:30 to 5:30. Maybe later at 6, if I did not have a Board of Selectmen's meeting or another meeting that I had to attend, it would be on the road.
So you were taking care of business at home in Ridgefield.
Yes.
And doubling up.
Yeah, but what was very, very important to me, I promised myself that I would do, is not to allow the business of Ridgefield to slip at all, and remain as dedicated to that job, to the people of Ridgefield, as I was prior to entering into that race.
And in exchange for that, they trusted you on your endeavor into
and I don't believe anyone had a question at all about my dedication to the town of Ridgefield, because that was my primary focus. So, having said that, piling on a candidacy for governor of the state of Connecticut was exhausting. And it involved literally, pretty much 17, 18-hour days, along with the weekends. So you had little time, and you had to remain focused.
Yeah.
You were constantly thinking, where am I going? What are the problems there? What are the issues? What are the regional issues? What are the local issues? What do people want? Etc. And learning about the state. But what was interesting in looking back is that I think the people, when they go to the polls, and whether they're voting Republican or Democrat in the primary, which is behind us now, or in the main election coming up, which is in front of us, I think people really need to look at the state of Connecticut. And what was very, very interesting to me in this whole experience is that we as municipalities, throughout this financial crisis that we experienced, we recognized it back in October of 2008 when the market crashed. We immediately knew we're going to have to take some corrective action. Let's get the microscope out and start looking at everything. And we locally formed a revenue committee. We started meeting every 2 weeks, and we watched it. Every 2 weeks we had information. What were the tax collections? What was conveyance tax? What about building permits? The assessor's office? Parks and recreation? Were their sign-ups up? Were they down? What does it look like? We started tracking everything. And what that allowed us to do is to take corrective action early on in the game. And that's what we didn't see at the state. And it became finger-pointing with both parties arguing, and we heard nothing but back and forth and derogatory comments about the Republicans, or the Republicans about the Democrats. And I think the people of Connecticut deserve a lot more.
That's true.
A heck of a lot more than that. And they deserve great leadership.
Well, having the need to take care of fiscal responsibilities on a municipal level,
Yes.
you don't have the benefit of heavy debt service that a state can take on.
Everything's relative, David.
Yeah.
We have debt service, and some people have complained because back in 2000, we invested a lot of money into education. We spent in two separate projects about $134 million in our schools. And you take a town of about 25,000 people, that's a substantial bond offering that you're going with and a debt that you're taking on. So we have debt, and we have a lot of debt that we continue to pay down. In fact, in last week's local paper, it was rather optimistic. It said that the fund balance is up and the debt is heading down. That may be true, only because we're taking such strict disciplinary actions amongst ourselves in monitoring our government in every bit of action we take. We are not spending anything unless we absolutely have to. The would like to haves that you hear so often in all of our communities, whether it's a brand new police station or whatever it may be, unfortunately have to be put on the back burner for a while. Because I don't expect the state of Connecticut to be bonding for the would like to haves or a ball field or a tennis court or whatever it may be. That was what was frustrating over the last couple of years, to see the state of Connecticut continue to finance steep grants, small town economic assistance plans,
Yes.
which are for towns under 30,000 people.
Yes.
Millions, 18, 20 million a year bonded for tennis courts and the like. It's not time for recreation. It's time for doing business.
Shoulder to the grindstone.
Put this in our roads, put it in our
and that was
schools.
very, very frustrating for all local officials across party lines. So,
I had a question about, now, Ridgefield doesn't have a large immigrant population, but you had a question about immigration you wanted to ask.
Well, I wanted to, we talk so much about the economy. Greenspan and other leading economists say that immigration is actually helpful and, in fact, vital to economic growth and recovery. Obviously Danbury, where, we are right now and where a lot of our focus is, mine and Dave's, we have a different take on immigration or a different way of handling it down here than much of the state. Do you agree that, immigration is actually vital for the recovery and that such things as immigration reform do need to be addressed?
well, I mean, that's a very interesting topic, especially to ask me, because my grandfather came here from Italy in 1896. And one of the reasons he came to Ridgefield, and it wasn't because it was Ridgefield, the beautiful town, it's because that's where there was work. And when from the province of Ancona, people came to Ridgefield, the word came back via a letter, there's work here, so that entire area began coming to this country. I can remember as a child my father doing landscaping work. All of our relatives were landscapers building. I worked part-time building stone walls for another person in town.
Outstanding.
Oh yeah, and I see people who are doing that now, and I'm thinking that was my family 60 years ago, 70 years ago, in this country, looking for work, not looking for a handout, willing to work, willing to get the job done, mow lawns, build stone walls, whatever. And we've seen that because that transition and that growth, because the Italians in Ridgefield built the Italian Club. They got together and with all your different trades helped build that building because it was a place for all of you to go and be together and enjoy this wonderful country called America.
And my dad's parents came from Ireland, very much the same situation.
Right.
And as we talk about undocumented or illegal immigrants now, my grandparents were illegals. And at any given time, up until the Irish economy really started to take off in the 1990s, until that point, it was pretty well known that at any given moment in the city of Boston, there were literally almost 1 million at any given time illegal Irish.
There are 50,000 in America currently.
Irish,
undocumented immigrants, and nobody looks and asks questions of them. But it's interesting, as far as the economic, I mean, that's really how we did build ourselves into the economic
and
superpower
you
that
can
we
go
were.
outside tonight or tomorrow at any point, and you can see this new generation of people that have come to our country are filling those exact same jobs that my ancestors filled when they came to this country.
And
So
creating the small, even increasing the small businesses, that they are traditionally the ones who
You're
open
right.
the small businesses.
You're right. Yeah. So economically, is there a hole, a void they're filling and providing? Absolutely. There's no question about that. It's a difficult situation. I don't purport to know exactly what the situation is in Danbury or why the administration has taken the position it has, because I'm not the mayor of Danbury, so I'm not going to question Mark at all about his policies. He's the boss here. But as an outsider looking in, and as with a family that immigrated to this country, you ask questions, you think about it. Because there are Mayor John DeStefano in New Haven has taken a totally different approach.
Good comparison. Tell us about what John's done, because the audience may not be real familiar with Mayor DeStefano from New Haven and how New Haven's handled things a little differently.
I'm not going to drill too deep into the detail, because to be very honest with you, I don't know it.
Right.
But I can tell you that basically what he has done is he has allowed those immigrants illegal to register with the state of Connecticut, so they know where they're at, what they're doing, and trying to put them to work.
That's
the important thing.
Very humane way to handle
and
the situation.
I think if we take a more honest approach to the problem, now, do we want to legalize people who are breaking the law, who have records from other countries? Absolutely not. No. We don't want to become a haven and create a whole nother level of problems that we need to solve. We have enough problems right now.
Yeah. That's
true.
But I think some of the problems that we do have right now can be solved by legalizing some of these people who are honest, good, hard-working people.
Get them paying the taxes.
Get them paying the taxes. Get them paying their insurances so that they can go to the doctors and not have to go to the emergency room and overcrowd the hospitals and cause problems there, etc. I think we need to take... it can't be a black or white situation. There's going to have to be a lot of gray, and I think we need to get moving into that gray area.
That's America. It's a rainbow of a country. And I think likewise you mentioned New Haven, but certainly Stamford also. Stamford is different from Danbury in that in Stamford there are selected spots where immigrants wait in order to meet employers on a daily basis and get work.
For the day jobs.
Yeah, for the day jobs. And they're not pariahs, they're not lepers. They're human beings that are serving a good function and doing jobs that they're very good at and hard-working, and they're appreciated.
You know, many times these people, when they are paid, Social Security is taken out. They are paying into the Social Security system, not having any expectation that they will ever collect Social Security. So there's a source of revenue there that I think is much larger than what people realize and is not very often referred to, and I would love to know what that number is on an annual basis.
I agree.
Pretty much like every generation of immigrants to America has been. They're just happy to be here.
Right.
And I think we should be appreciative of the hard work that they do and their efforts to work during the daytime and work very hard in the evening to learn English. They want to be Americans.
You know, some people will make the comparison between Arizona and Danbury, and I think at a 30,000-foot level you can do that, but we're not a border state where our issues here, although somewhat comparable, are not nearly what Arizona is looking at. And I don't think, and that's why I'm saying, there are so many different situations in the area of immigration that there's not a silver bullet. And I'll use that same analogy, you'll hear me say this often with reference to the state budget. And that was being talked of a little earlier. People think there's a silver bullet somewhere. There isn't. And it's going to take a lot of hard work. There are going to be programs that are going to be cut, but we need new revenue also.
That's right.
It's got to be a combination. and people are going to need to work together to get this problem solved, and that, unfortunately, is not what we've had.
In terms of job creation, I mean, Boehringer did lose a lot of jobs actually this
Yes.
year, from what I've heard.
Yes.
And Boehringer obviously straddles Danbury and Ridgefield is one of the biggest hirers in the area. What is our problem attracting? Because that's a beautiful corporate park. You know, Bethel has Francis J. Industrial Park. There's a lot of really wonderful industrial properties where you know, big businesses, pharma, healthcare, and such can move in. What is our specific problem in this region, Danbury, Ridgefield, and such, in attracting those kind of businesses?
I don't think it's a problem that is so much local as it is at the state level. And I do believe that the cost of energy is extremely high, and you've heard that from a lot of different campaigns, and I think it's shared by every single candidate that's running for governor.
Absolutely.
That the cost of energy is extremely high. And, you know, what I said when I was involved with the campaign is that the state of Illinois formed a public power commission, and within 6 months was able to lower the cost of electricity by 20%. You know, the fact that we deregulated was probably the worst thing we ever did. And that open market philosophy that the competition was going to hold the price down obviously was wrong.
Yeah,
Because we're paying
deregulation
next to
deregulation is
Hawaii,
sort of
I
like,
think.
It's true.
Or Alaska.
Right.
I think the highest power in the country.
Well,
We
I
need to get that under control.
Yes.
And in Hartford, they're debating issues that have no relevance to energy. And that's
true.
the frustration for a lot of us at the local level, and I think has a tremendous impact on the economy, on our local economy. We need to start pumping money into education. I think that's critical, because we need a trained labor force, workforce, that when we recruit new companies, can say, we have a program, tell us where you want them trained, we will train them for you. So by the time you're in our state and you're ready to start up, get everything going, our labor will be trained, and we can supply 100, 200, 500, tell us what you need, and go to work and get that done.
Right.
I think we need to think outside the box.
Seems to be like that's a very good idea, in the sense that what companies really want more than money is they want a trained force. They want to
a
have
trained force that comes to work and is happy to be at work.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
You know, we have people that will go to work, and especially if you have to commute into the Fairfield County area, the last thing you want to do is have to sit on the highways. We've got plenty of concrete to accommodate those who want to sit and admire it.
Right.
But we haven't put any money into infrastructure.
Yes.
And it's a tough issue, because everything we talk about is going to take money. It's going to take a change of philosophy, a change in the way we do business at the state. And you cannot cut every program,
Right.
because there'll be nothing left, and we'll create a bigger problem with unemployment and social problems in our cities than we ever dreamed of
People
having.
that aren't paying taxes now on
So-
top of everything else.
It's a nightmare, and unfortunately we have not had anyone, and I'll mean both sides of the aisle, stand up and take the problem on. We've seen a lot of finger pointing that I alluded to earlier, but no one taking it on. And somebody's got to roll their shirt sleeves up and go to work. And you know what? They're not going to be very popular, because no matter what you do, you're going to make someone angry. I've learned that in my job. No matter what decision a chief elected official makes, you're making someone angry. They don't like your decision, but the decision has to be made, and you need full transparency as to why you're making that
They
decision.
have to understand the
They have
decision,
to-
albeit
Knew
not
more,
liking it.
if people were able to hear more, see more, understand better how our government works in Hartford and what is going on. I love our state reps and our state senators. I think they work extremely hard for the areas, but they're not nearly as visible as the chief elected officials are. And I think what we need to see is those state reps, the state senators, become much more visible in the local arena and talking about and educating the people as to what's going on in Hartford. It's a part-time job, and that's part of the problem.
It's almost like bonding on a regional basis. State reps and the state senators
we're
bonding
meeting-
or appearing as a group on a regional basis, maybe periodically, and holding what we've come to know as town hall meetings.
Right. We're meeting right now. 3 towns in this area are getting together.
Yep.
And just this past week, I had a list of about 15 different areas that I said, okay, and here's an example. Building department. Now, everyone out there that's working for a building department is going to say, what's he doing, what's he doing, what's he doing? You have to look at that. And, and you say, the building officials follow the building code of the state of Connecticut. It's not a local code.
Right, exactly.
So if it's a state of Connecticut, and every time there's an issue or an appeal or a question, it goes to the state of Connecticut building officials.
That's right.
So why don't we regionalize that function, have a building official with inspectors that are assigned to various towns, so that we're consolidating that effort. And that will help save us in a lot of different ways. Save us from a cost perspective, but also, I think, create a certain degree of efficiency and eliminate the issue of, well, how come so-and-so always seems to get what he wants? And how come so-and-so has never been red tagged, yet you've red tagged me so many times?
It's like with kids. How come mom always liked you best?
Right. Not that that's a big issue, but as we move forward and we see the next governor take office, the reality of what's going to happen is that if we are not prepared to begin consolidating and reducing costs, we're going to have a lot more problems than we ever thought of having.
True.
And I think at the local level, we need to begin thinking about that more than ever before.
Now, HVECO being a good example of that, Houston Valley Council of Elected Officials.
Right.
But now we had Ken Flato on for Selectman of Fairfield in April, talking specifically about the coastal storm that struck and all the damage from that.
Yes.
But
I don't mean to laugh. It was a very serious situation.
But
the frustrations that we all felt.
Sure,
Yes.
but we talked specifically about how the towns along the coast there, Fairfield, Westport, Fairfield, Bridgeport, Westport, Norwalk,
Greenwich,
worked cooperatively. But the towns that are around Fairfield and Fairfield worked cooperatively, because quite often you've got a fire department in Fairfield, which is actually closer to parts of Bridgeport than the closest Bridgeport Fire Department.
That storm hit on a Saturday, Friday night, Saturday, and wreaked havoc along the shoreline as far north as into New Canaan, a little bit of Wilton, but New Canaan, Greenwich, Darien, Norwalk, Westport, Stamford, North Stamford.
Some schools out for an entire week.
All got hit very hard. What we did is what we've been training to do under the NIMS system, which is the National Incident Management System, which all of us take the IS 400, 100, 200, 700, so that in the event of a national disaster, everyone knows how everyone else is organized.
They're going to coordinate, right?
It's a coordinated effort. And to that point, we have organized in the state of Connecticut the Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, state of Connecticut. And we've broken down into, I think, 5 or 6 regions called Demis regions. And Ridgefield North is Demis Region 5.
As in demographics, I presume?
Yeah. And when you go Wilton South, it's Demis Region number 1. So on Sunday, I called Jeb Walker, who was the first selectman in New Canaan. And I left him a message. Jeb, I know you got hit hard. You must be out. Let me know if you need any help. We'll send highway with trucks and chainsaws, etc. He called back on Monday morning, and he said, thank you very much. I really appreciate the call. We're beginning to get together. This is Monday. Now, the storm hit on Saturday.
Wow.
Demis is organizing, and we should be okay. What happened is we weren't okay. And what we found is that despite all of the hard work and hours of meetings and training and discussion and tabletop exercise, it didn't work. It didn't work. So what happened is the governor put out a notice through CCM, in conjunction with CCM, the Connecticut Council of Municipalities, asking in emails from all of us for chainsaws, for tape, caution tape, barricades. And I'm saying, what is going on? This is on Tuesday. So I called, and what I found out was that the system that was in place didn't work. And unfortunately, what we have done in the HEVCO region, and this all started, you brought up HEVCO, is what we have agreed to do as chief elected officials. If you're the mayor of Danbury, and there's a terrible storm, tornadoes have hit Danbury and need help, I am going to call you. You have my cell phone number, and if you need help, you call me directly. And cut out all of the red tape,
Middleman.
all of the bureaucracy, all of the dependence on state organizations, federal organizations, and go to work amongst ourselves.
Now, is it actually a concern that this is actually more of a human failing of those in charge? Like, I mean, I don't want to get you to point a finger at New Canaan's mayor or Danbury's mayor or anything like that, but does there seem to be a lack of willingness to cooperate, or is that coming from the state level where they do have all this middleman stuff set up?
I think, you know, it's from what I can see at the state level, that with all the systems and the paperwork that is done, we have all the forms and all the books, and it looks great on paper, but the reality of putting that into action is what we need, and I don't think that's practiced enough.
What's amazing to me is that pretty much all of our nonprofit agencies, you know, United Way, Red Cross, you know, all those things kind of function regionally. You know, they've gotten the message a long time ago. But
Red Cross is wonderful. Great organization. Respond.
Exactly, and
Absolutely.
they do it immediately. And United Way, all the things that fall under that umbrella are regionalized things, and there must be a reason why it's regional.
It
and
works
yet our
because the
governments,
local people are involved with it.
Right.
And they have people who are locally allocated or living who have signed up to become part of that team and have the ability to respond quickly. And you're not waiting for a meeting to take place, calls to go in, documents to be filled out, forms to be filled out, requests to be made in writing. It's the same old government issue. Too much paperwork.
Okay, 2-minute warning. Let's go back to Ridgefield. Let's talk about things specific to Ridgefield. What can we look forward to in Ridgefield in the coming months? What are the goals you have as first selectman? What are the goals that the town as a whole has?
Well, the one thing for sure is, generally speaking, budgets. The economy is going to be a major issue. We anticipate things not changing much from where they're at right now. And although companies are doing better financially, they're doing better without having to hire people back, so the unemployment stays up. In our bedroom community,
what they call a lagging factor.
Yeah, we're running about 6% unemployment. Normally we're down 1.5 to 2. That's a big number. And there are a lot of people in trouble, and they're so proud, and they have this pride and humility. They're not going to ask, and it's kind of you're waiting for that other foot to drop, that other hammer to come down, that is there something in the wings. So we're very, very, very cautious. We do not see a lot changing economically. In terms of issues, you know, the major one is, you know, we have Schlumberger that went dark almost 3 years ago now, 130,000 square feet. They were a great corporate partner for 50 years. We need to get someone in there. We need to do something with that property, because as the clock continues to tick and this economy shows signs of maybe coming around, there's no doubt there are going to be people coming in and saying, why don't we put up 400, 500 condominiums? And in our community, we need business.
Well, not
So,
condominiums.
we don't look at condominiums as generating revenue. We need corporations to generate revenue for us, or some effort like that.
Okay, we're going to end it at that. Thank you for joining us, Rudy.
Thank you, David.
Gene and I have appreciated very much having you on.
Thank you very much.
David Stevenson, Gene Hislop, Rudy Marconi, first selectman of Ridgefield, former candidate for governor. Had a great run at it, and who knows?
Who knows?
Best of luck again.
We'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Okay, enjoy your evening.
Okay.